Okay, welcome to the next edition of today's guided reading with Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul. We're going to start on page 24 and in the section on relationships. Hi, you see a picture there of a boy and a girl and her mom and dad. Oh, look at this, our little girl coming home from her first date. You kids just go ahead and say goodnight as though we're not even here. Changes in life. I was 16 years old and a junior in high school, and the worst possible thing that could happen to me did. My parents decided to move our family from our Texas home to Arizona. I had 2 weeks to wrap up all of my business and move before school began. I had to leave my first job, my boyfriend, and my best friend behind, and try to start a new life. I despised my parents for ruining my life. I told everyone that I did not want to live in Arizona and would be returning to Texas the first chance I had. When I arrived in Arizona, I made sure everyone knew that I had a boyfriend and best friend waiting for me in Texas. I was determined to keep my distance from everyone. I would just be leaving soon anyway. The first day of school came and I was miserable. I could only think of my friends in Texas and how I wished I could be with them. For a while, I felt that my life was over. Eventually, though, things got a little better. It was in my second period accounting class where I first saw him. He was tall, trim, and really good looking. He had the most beautiful blue eyes I had ever seen. He was sitting just 3 seats away from me in the same front row of class. Feeling I had nothing to lose, I decided to talk to him. "Hi. My name is Sheila. What's yours?" I asked with a Texas drawl. The guy next to him thought that I was asking him. "Mike?" "Oh, hi, Mike," I humored him. "What's your name?" I asked again, focusing my attention on this blue-eyed boy. He looked behind him, not believing that I could be asking him for his name. "Chris," he responded quietly. "Hi, Chris," I smiled. Then I went about my work. Chris and I became friends. We enjoyed talking to each other in class. Chris was a jock, and I was in the school band. In high school, peer pressure demanded that the two groups did not mix socially. Our paths crossed occasionally at school functions, but for the most part, our friendship remained within the 4 classroom walls of accounting class. Chris graduated that year, and we went our separate ways for a while. Then one day, he came to see me while I was working in a store in the mall. I was very happy to see him. He went on my breaks with me and we started talking again. The pressure from his jock friends had subsided and we became very close friends. My relationship with my boyfriend in Texas had become less important to me. I felt my bond with Chris growing stronger, taking the place of my relationship in Texas. It had been a year since I moved from Texas and Arizona was starting to feel like home. Chris escorted me to my senior prom. We triple dated with 2 of his jock friends and their dates. The night of my prom changed our relationship forever. I was accepted by his friends, and that made Chris feel more comfortable. Finally, our relationship was in the open. Chris was a very special person to me during such a difficult time in my life. Our relationship eventually blossomed into a very powerful love. I now understand that my parents did not move the family to Arizona to hurt me, although at the time it sure felt as though they did. I now firmly believe that everything happens for a reason. For had I not moved to Arizona, I never would have met the man of my dreams. Sheila K. Raymond. First love. Truly loving another means letting go of all expectations. It means full acceptance, even celebration of another's personhood. Karen Casey. Michael and I were never really boyfriend and girlfriend. He was 3.5 years older than I, which was a lot when I still didn't need to wear a bathing suit top. We grew up around the pool and tennis courts of a country club. He was an excellent tennis player with sure, calm strides and a powerful stroke. When I had to take time out from swimming and diving because my lips had turned blue, I sat on the grass wrapped in a towel and watched the tennis matches. Later in the day, the guys would come to the pool and hoist the girls on their shoulders for water fights. I liked it best on Michael's shoulders, which were broad. I felt safe. At 16, his parents allowed him to drive during the day, and he often brought me home in his gray Dodge. The autumn after I turned 14, he started asking if I wanted to go to a late afternoon movie with him. I wanted to say yes, but then I would get this jumpy feeling in my stomach and always change my mind. His dark eyes looked into mine, both pleasing and frightening me. Gradually, I stayed longer in his car, talking about things that troubled me. My older sister had lots of boyfriends, and although I worshipped her, she mostly didn't want anything to do with me. Then there were the intrigues around who was dating, whom and which friends I trusted, and why. A lot of my pain centered around my relationship with my parents, who had divorced when I was 11 and remarried when I was 13. I didn't know anyone else with a broken family, and I felt ashamed and unsure of myself, like I wasn't as good as the other kids. I could talk with Michael about all this. He was reassuring, and I began to trust him. As time passed, I was ready to go to the movies with him. We also enjoyed hanging out at my house, where we would go down to the television room in the basement. I loved to watch TV with Michael so that I could cuddle with him on the couch. We were a strange pair. He loved sports, while I loved the arts. My sister and others made fun of his sports obsession. I guess I would have preferred it if everyone thought he was cool, or if he had been more artistic. But no one else cared about me the way he did. When he kissed me for the first time, we were at his house during a thunderstorm watching a baseball game on television. I ran up to my sister's room when I got home. I must have looked goofy as I stood in her doorway and announced, "Michael kissed me." "So?" she said. "Was that the first time?" "Yeah," I nodded. "What have you guys been doing all this time?" she demanded. Michael dated other girls and I went out with other boys, but I hated their sweaty palms and was horrified when a blind date tried to put his tongue in my mouth. Only Michael understood that I needed to move slowly, and he was always very patient with me. Even though Michael reassured me many times that our relationship was special by saying, "It doesn't matter whether or not I have a girlfriend or you have a boyfriend, I will always be there for you." I still got jealous when I saw him interested in someone else. Michael got engaged to a girl from out of town when I was 19. I was the only unmarried, unrelated girl at the wedding. As the bride and groom said goodbye to everyone, Michael came over to me and kissed me on the cheek. "I love you," he said. He remained true to his word. When I needed to talk to someone, he was there. I got jealous sometimes when I thought of him loving and being romantic with his wife, but that changed as she and I became friends. I moved across the country and only saw Michael occasionally, at the club when I returned to visit my family. Now we sat at the pool and watched his kids swimming. Our lives were very different. I thought I probably wouldn't have much more than a half hour's worth of conversation to share with him, but I always felt a current of love go through me when I saw him. When I was 38, my father died. The morning before the funeral, I thought to myself, I wonder if Michael knows. We hadn't seen each other or spoken for years. After the service the next day, as I was talking with the many friends and family who had come for the funeral, I felt a hand on my shoulder. I turned and saw those dark eyes. "Are you all right?" he asked. I nodded. Putting both hands on my shoulders, he held me, looking into my eyes. No one had ever understood the bond between us. I'm not sure that we did, but it was and will always be there. Mary Kellen wrote that.